Howdy friends and family, thank you so much for joining me. This is day 15 in the series that I'm doing called It Is Well. And today we are looking at how God provides a way out. We've been looking at the phrase in the song that says, "Thou hast taught me to say." And in the last devotional, we looked at how he changes us and he calls us to a new life and a new purpose. And this change that he does is making it so that it is well with our souls. And really, without Jesus doing this, we can't say it is well with our souls because it is not well with our souls. So today we're going to be looking at another way that he teaches us to say it is well with our souls. It's by looking at how he provides a way out of temptation. Because you see, when we believe, we gain that forgiveness, it is made well with our souls, and then Jesus calls us to that new way of life, but the devil is still going to be sitting there, tempting us, calling us to ignore this call and to forget the fact that it is well with our souls. You see, in 1 Peter 5:8, it says, "Be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour." The devil is sitting there, just waiting for the chance to try and get us to trip up and return to our old way of life, to return to the life of sin that we have been freed from. And now, if it was completely up to us, if we were just left completely to our own devices, we would give in to him. You see, in James 1, verses 14 through 15, it says, "But each person is tempted when he is lured and enticed by his own desire. Then desire, when it has conceived, gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is fully grown, brings forth death." And Matthew 26:41 says, "Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit is indeed willing, but the flesh is weak." And so when the devil tempts us, our earthly nature, our sinful nature, says to give in. And if we were left to our own devices, this is what we would do. At one point, Paul says, "I do not do what I want to do, and I do what I do not want to do." He's saying, I want to follow Jesus, but I always end up sinning because our flesh, our sinful nature calls us to sin while Jesus is calling us to this new purpose. But the good news is that we're not just left to our own devices. You see, God does provide a way for us to resist the temptation. And the first thing he does, we're told in 1 Corinthians 10, verse 6, "Now these things took place as examples for us that we might not desire evil as they did." And so Paul is talking here about the Israelites and the example we have in the Old Testament. So God has provided these examples of people who did give in to temptation so that we can see the disastrous consequences that come with giving into temptation. The other way he provides a way out of this temptation is through the armor of God. So Ephesians 6:11 says, "Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil." It's pretty clear right here. The way to stand against the schemes of the devil, stand against the temptations, is to put on the armor that God has provided for us. And then in verse 6:13, it says, "Therefore take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand firm." So we see three things here. First, we see that the armor of God that he has provided for us is what will help us withstand temptation. The second thing we see is that it's important to have all of the pieces of the armor of God. And then the last piece that we see is that this is being done in preparation, not while we're in the moment. A soldier would not go onto the battlefield to fight without ever having fought with his weapon, without having practiced. nor would he walk onto the battlefield and then start to try and put on his armor. So these next couple of devotionals, we're going to look at the armor of God piece by piece and see what God has provided for us so that we can resist the temptation to ignore the fact that it is well with our soul. Because our sinful nature would tell us to just wallow in despair. But as we talked about last time, God calls us to this new purpose, part of which is declaring that it is well with our souls. So we're going to take a look at the armor of God that God gives us so that we can say it is well. If you're looking for a verse to memorize, we are working on Ephesians 2:10. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you guys next time.